Hi, I'm Irene Khor, a BodyTalk instructor and advanced certified BodyTalk practitioner. The topic of this video is about how to achieve complete health when we are able to manage our mental and emotional stress, so we will have a complete well-being. Firstly, let us define what is stress, for this word is too commonly used on our day-to-day lives. In my experience, stress comes about when there is a gap or a difference between our internal abilities, capabilities, experience, and expectations differs from the external reality and external demands. And that gap comes about from our own past experiences as well as from what we have observed from other people's experiences, which led us to conclude or believe of what we can or can't do. And that's also when that we have set subconsciously certain limitations or self-sabotages in achieving or pursuing what we really want to do or even have to do. So when that happens, we will have a mismatch. On one hand, which is our internal world, we would already have a preconceived idea of whether this external task that we needed to do or perform or deliver is either difficult, easy, fun, boring, creative, or challenging that it will take us to the next level of growth that we want to, or challenging that is taking more of us, that it is way beyond what we are capable of. Whatever it is that our internal world believes in or operates from, that itself is going to give command to our body to secrete a certain types of hormones when we deal with that task. So if you feel that it is beyond our capabilities, that's where we say that's the gap. And when that happens, the body will secrete the stress hormones, which is the cortisol, when we are doing that task. As opposed to when we believe that that task is fun, creative, and challenging, which supports our growth, our body will secrete different types of fun hormone like the serotonin and dopamine. And when we accomplish that task, we actually feel good and happy. Irregardless of the situation, the tasks and experiences, the body will be accustomed to this gap that is operating from. Whatever it is that we are experiencing, we do not want our body to be accustomed to operate from a gap. So whether the job is too challenging, we are not able to meet, or the job is too easy that we feel bored. So regardless of the situation, this gap can be considered stress to our body. As human beings, we do not want to remain plateau. That will get us bored actually. So with some healthy stress, that will keep us going, give us the drive, the motivation, the determination to want to challenge ourselves, to grow and improve ourselves on a constant basis. So with appropriate stress and drive, that will keep us healthy and growing and happy. What is most important for us to know is the difference between healthy and unhealthy stress, the gap that I mentioned earlier. Healthy stress is when we are in alignment, the mind, our thoughts, our beliefs with our emotions, how we feel when we do certain tasks, and our physical body. Are we capable to meet the demands of what we wanting to do? What do I mean by that? For there are times where we might be feeling extremely confident, extremely driven, extremely excited, but our body might be very tired at some point in time. And if we push our body to do what we believe and think and feel we want to do, we are pushing our body to a certain limits where we overstretch beyond the boundaries of the current capabilities. Stress happens. So when our body is accustomed or conditioned to operate within such gaps, on the long run, our body is actually adapted to operate at a stress mode. So the interesting question here is, what can we do about it? How can we help our body bridge the gap? How can we help our body be more aligned with what we believe, with what we feel, and with what we do, so that we can move forward and do what we love healthily and happily? We definitely do not want our body to operate from that stress mode. Unfortunately, we may or may not be aware of the stress that is hidden inside our body. Interestingly, our body have a higher threshold of keeping a mental and emotional stress as opposed to a physical stress, simply because mental and emotional stress are not so obvious. For we can still put up a smile even though that we are feeling very unhappy inside, depending on the situation. Or we may think that it is inappropriate to speak up and express if we are in a challenging situation, not asking for help, fearing that either we might be criticized, we might be judged, we might be rejected and not accepted. Either it is at home, at work, or at school, or wherever you are. And this is also when we challenge ourselves, put up a happy face, push ourselves to do a certain task which is way beyond our capability at that moment in time. So the exciting thing is this exercise can be done by anyone, any age, at any time. It is designed to help our body to bring back the alignment between our mind, our emotions, and our physical body at the same time. Our body is so amazing because it is designed to be able to self-regulate and self-heal at all times. It is only when our body is so conditioned over a long period of time to operate within this stress mode or the gap, that is when the self-healing ability is compromised over time. So when we do this exercise on a regular basis, it will slowly bridge the gap and bring our body back into that alignment. Simple examples to illustrate how amazing our body is, that it can self-regulate and self-heal. First is when we cut ourselves. So if we have an injury or accidentally have a cut, of course we have to do the physical part of cleaning the wound. So what happens internally when the body detects the cut is when it's able to send signals to the spleen to release the platelets to go to the injured area to stop the bleeding. The other amazing examples are things that we do on a daily basis which we could have taken for granted. When we breathe, when we eat, when we drink, and when we go to the bathroom. Who is giving those instructions to do all those processes? Definitely not our conscious mind. So this intelligence has the ability to self-heal and self-regulate optimally when our body is not operating at a stress mode or when there is a gap. This is how the exercise works. We only need our hands. It is recommended for you to consult your physician if you or your family member have a history of high blood pressure, diabetes, or heart disease before starting this exercise. And in case you experience any discomfort during this exercise, you should stop immediately. The name of this exercise is called Cortices technique. The word cortices is the plural form of the word cortex, which refers to lobes of the brain. There are two key concepts that I would like to introduce first for doing this exercise. First is the breathing. We're going to take deep breath in and out throughout the exercise. The second key concept is light tapping. There will be 3 places that we will be tapping. First is on top of the head, where you will be spreading your fingers like this. And the second place is on top of your chest bone or your sternum. And the third place to tap is on top of your navel. So what is the purpose of doing breathing in this exercise? Well, like I said earlier, our body is designed with this self-healing mechanism. And when it detects a problem, it's able to send the instructions to do whatever job it's supposed to do. But if our body is not aware or unable to detect all the hidden mental and emotional stress inside our body, inside our cells, it is then not able to do the self-healing work for us. So the breathing acts like a scanner. For example, most of us have used the scanning of QR code before. So in the process of scanning, the system will detect the pixels, and once it does that, it will be able to do the certain action that it was designed to do. Similarly, with this human body, every body part, every muscle, every organ, and every cell has been designed for a specific function or task. But unfortunately, it is during the stress, the gap that we have put ourselves through, that it has almost forgot what it was supposed to do, because it was so conditioned and accustomed with operating within a stress mode. So when we do this exercise, as we breathe, we're allowing the body to actually do the scanning, detect which are the areas that is off alignment, and bring us back into alignment so that our body can do its natural self-healing abilities once again. What then is the purpose of tapping in this exercise? For example, when we tap on someone's shoulders, one of the purpose could be we are trying to get the attention of that person. The same concept applies when we apply light tapping in this exercise. Remember, there were 3 places that we tap throughout this exercise. First, that is the top of the head. Light tapping on top of the head signifies that we are waking up the brain, reminding the body that it has this natural function that is designed to do and it's supposed to do. The second place that we tap is on the sternum or the chest bone. The purpose of tapping here serves as a reminder, or if I were to use the computer analogy again, it acts as a save button. If tapping on the head symbolizes waking up the brain to do what it was originally intended to do, now tapping on the sternum acts as a save button so that whatever new changes that has been made is saved, so the body doesn't fall back to the old patterns of operating in the stress mode again. Finally, the third place that we tap is on top of the navel. This area represents tapping on the enteric or the gut brain. The purpose of tapping this area is to allow the body to integrate the change that has been made earlier, so that the change that is being activated is being integrated and updated in every cells in the body. I'm going to demonstrate how the exercise looks like right now. You can be sitting, you can be standing, or you can even be lying down. For the ease of the demonstration, I will be doing it sitting down. You only need your hands, your pair of hands, and you're going to be starting with one of your palm. Either hand is fine, and you will be placing this hand at the back of your head. And with the other hand, we will be alternating the tapping between the head. You see my fingers are a little bit spread across. And then the chest bone or the sternum, and then on top of the navel. And we will be breathing throughout this tapping process. At least 2 full breaths with each hand position before we move our hands. Okay, let's do this together. Hands at the back of your head. Start taking nice, slow, deep breath. After 2 breaths, you will move your palm upwards. And continue to tap. At least 2 full breaths. Move your palm forward. In your last palm, you will be touching the top of your eyebrow. And once you've completed from the back to the front, palm by palm, the last position is you're going to touch the sides of your head. And because if you're tapping on yourself, you have only one pair of hands, you're going to utilize one palm at a time to do the tapping. Put it back and then use the other palm. Put it back. And very gently, you can remove your hands. Feel your presence. There you go. Isn't that very simple? Now, let's take a closer look of the meaning behind each of our hand positions on the cortex of the brain. Bear in mind that there are two sides of the cortex of each of the lobe of our brain. The word that is most commonly used to describe the two sides are hemispheres. Conventionally, the left hemispheres are known to perform tasks that are more logical, systematic, or analytical. On the other hand, the right hemispheres have been more associated with creativity, imagination, intuition, emotional expression as well. As mentioned in the very beginning of this video, to achieve complete health, it is most important to have the alignment between our mind, our emotions, as well as with our physical body. So when we do this exercise with our hands in the location as you've seen in this photo, it has contact on both right and left hemispheres of each lobe. That simply signifies we are highlighting to the brain to get the left functions to be aligned to the right functions. As a famous example has highlighted, solving difficult mathematical problems involves both logic and creativity. We will now explore the functions of each lobe briefly from the perspective of the physical function as well as the conceptual functions. Let us start with the lobe that is located at the base of our head, and in this image, it is highlighted in red. This is called the occipital lobe. The visual cortex is located within this area. It primarily governs our sense of sight. That means what is picked up from our eyes will be sent to this visual cortex to give a brain an understanding of what we are seeing. Conceptually, that governs our view, our perception, our opinions. And in this exercise, when we have our hand contacting both hemispheres of the occipital lobe, that enables us to have a complete view of what we are seeing. And not only processing from a logical perspective, we also want our brain to be able to process information from the creativity or the emotional perspective. So we are less biased, more neutral, and have a more complete view of certain situations. And as you noticed in the demonstration earlier, my hands move from one palm connecting with the other palm. As you move your palm upwards, of course, it will overlap, covering between the lobes. Next, let's look at the parietal lobe that is colored in green in this image. The parietal lobe governs the voluntary movements. That is the function of our arms, our hands, and our eyes. Conceptually, the word voluntary can signify the sense of willingness or the ability for us to exercise our choice. which could have been embedded deep within our subconscious, or for some experiences that we have in the past that are not ideal, this sense of choice could have been inhibited. As such, when we tap this area of the left and the right side of the parietal lobe, it actually can enhance the sense of our ability to make choices, which leads to probably better decisions, as well as to promote the sense of willingness to explore new things and have different sets of logic that supports us in exploring, doing new things. Moving forward is the frontal lobe that is highlighted in blue, that is in front of our head. One of the main functions of the frontal lobe is to do with voluntary muscle movement. That is where we are walking, moving, talking, and especially communicating. Conceptually, the frontal lobe governs functions like thinking, problem solving, being spontaneous, impulse control, and social behavior. This is also where we mention about functions where we might feel internal conflict, where we are not sure whether we want to follow our thinking or our emotions. When we balance both hemispheres of the frontal lobe, it enables our thinking to be more aligned to our feelings. Finally, the temporal lobe that is highlighted in yellow in this image, and it is located at the sides of our head. When we place our hands for this exercise, it will cover approximately half of our ear. But what is most important if we touch the left and the right sides of our head? This area is mainly associated with the auditory functions. That means our hearing and speech. A lot of times we might hear things, but we actually do not listen. That means, do we really understand what the other party is saying? For the limbic system, or more commonly known as the emotional brain, also sits within this area. This area is also known as the home to learning and attention. Our ability to focus, be in the moment, and be fully present to any situation or person that we are communicating with makes a huge difference to the quality of the communication or the task we are performing. There you go. Those are the 4 main lobes within the cortex of our brain. This exercise is designed to be done in the sequence starting from the occipital lobe, moving 1 palm at a time, from the occipital to the parietal to the frontal and then to the temporal. And of course, you will be doing deep breathing and tapping alternatively throughout the entire process. So what does this technique do in general? First, it actually helps to do like a reboot to your system, to your mind, to your emotions, and to your physical body as well. Like in your computer, when the system is either hanging, slowing down, we actually do a reboot to the computer so that memory gets eased off and it can perform better. So similarly to the human body. So you notice that my hands are in certain parts of my head, or we call it the lobes of the cortex. So make a guess, what are we doing when we are placing our hand in certain positions in our head and doing the tapping and the breathing at the same time? Well, like the computer, our brain is like the CPU or the server that stores the database. When we put our hand in certain positions and as we start to breathe and tap, we're bringing awareness to the body to scan for that area if there is any unprocessed emotions, unprocessed mind or thoughts that have been stored way, way deep inside, and it will start to self-regulate and self-heal and bring our body back into that alignment. Of course, this is not a one-time deal fixed all. Our body is very complex, and the memory that we store is way, way, way back when during the moment of conception. And this exercise is meant to be done as a maintenance. Just as we brush our teeth every day to maintain good oral health, this technique will help us to maintain a overall well-being. It helps to process any unresolved mental and emotional experiences which may not be necessary anymore, and helps the body clean it up and then process and allow the self-healing mechanism to kick in and bring us back into alignment again. It is actually during sleep, or even better, during deep sleep, that our body actually gets a chance to do the self-regulating and the self-healing processes. The question is, in modern society, we are so busy that we have not really gotten a chance to give our body that time to pause and to do what it's supposed to do. Or in some scenarios, sleep is something not very easily attainable. Cortices technique help shut down the mind just like a computer to get that break or a rest mode. Let's look at an example from a machinery or an electronics perspective. When we want to do repairs to that equipment, what is the first thing that we need to do most of the time? We need to switch it off, don't we? Similarly to our body, to help our body do the job that it's supposed to do, the first thing we need to do is to switch off the busy mind, which is ongoing 24/7 with or without us knowing. And when that happens, we can actually get better sleep. The body is able to do what is naturally designed to do, and we can have a healthier body and, of course, minimal stress. It might take less than a minute for you to do it, and you can do it on a daily basis. You can do it anytime in the morning, anytime in the evening, or anytime that you perceive you are experiencing the gap or stress in your day-to-day activities. I normally like to use a computer analogy. For example, if your computer is slowing down or it hangs, what do? We press alternate control delete, or we reboot the system. Similarly with the human body, when we are stressed or we feel stuck and we feel very heavy and we're not able to move on, we also need a reboot. And doing this exercise is helping our body to realign, like I mentioned. Some of the benefits that I have received feedback over more than 10 years of people using this exercise on a regular basis are mostly feeling more focused, feeling more refreshed, feeling more easy to do certain tasks, less internal conflict, because we are more aligned without having the fight between the mind and the emotions, or even feeling more creative and productive because there's less stress or less hustle or less burden in getting a task done. We're able to go better with the flow. There are also feedback saying there are improved relationships between the people around them, within colleagues, better teamwork. Because when we are more aligned within ourselves, we work better with other people, and it goes vice versa. And over time, if we are able to do the things that we have set out to do, even though it is so-called difficult, we are able to get that task accomplished with more ease internally. And when that happens, there is less limitations within us, there is less self-doubt, we feel better of ourselves, and that in itself is a form of encouragement that comes from within, that we are more determined, we're more inspired from within, and there's less need to be motivated from the external party. That also leads to being less needy, less dependent, yet very optimistic. And this is a state when we feel empowered within us, we are then able to empower others. Families who have been using this exercise has also seen better relationships with their family members and with the children especially. Because if the adults are feeling stressed and they are holding it inside the body, the children might be able to either feel it intuitively or they may copy what the parents are doing. Like the saying goes, monkey see, monkey do. So with using this exercise in a long run, it will actually improve our relationships, as mentioned, our boundaries with people. We are able to set healthier boundaries with people, that we're not allowing ourselves to be a victim and attracting bullies in our life that then we feel even more stress. One last benefit I really want to highlight is when we feel more confident, more happy, and more aligned within ourselves, we are able also to set healthier boundaries and set better examples for the people around us. Healthy boundaries means we know our healthy limits, that we will not set ourselves up for failure, that we will not set tasks and goals that is way beyond our reach and the reach of the people who is working with us, and create unnecessary stress for ourselves and for everyone. It also means the ability to protect ourselves healthily. When we need to say no, we are able to respond to that healthily and not being reactive all the time. When we work within the healthy limits, we do not need to enter into a space of blaming either ourselves or other people when the task is not accomplished. I really hope that you can do this exercise regularly so that you can help your body do what it's naturally designed to do, which is the self-healing and self-regulating, and then you will achieve a complete health from a physical perspective and a better mental and emotional well-being. And when that happens, you will also be happier in general because you have better relationships and have healthy boundaries and be more productive in whatever that you attempt to do. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best of a complete health and well-being.